It's the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast, episode 43. It's that time of week again. You've downloaded me once again. You hear that? Yeah, it's my voice. That's what you're hearing. So welcome once again to the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. This is the sports betting podcast for those out there that like to sprinkle a few dollars on a few games, whether it be, your football game, your baseball, your underdogs, your long shots, your over-unders. In this podcast, we tend to favor the overs. So we also like to talk about the latest sporting news, give my opinion. You know what? It's my podcast. I'm going to give you my opinion. And I got a lot of things to get off my chest this week on episode 43. So you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Overrated EXPER2. That is, you can follow the Overrated Experience at Overrated EXPER2. Drop us a note. Be part of the Twitter circle, be a part of that exclusive club, and get in on there. You know what? We could use your picks, so please hurry up and get in there. And also join us on the Facebook page, the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. Simple as that. You'll find our page, allow you to follow us, like us, do whatever you got to do to join us and get easy access to all the podcasts. Or, of course, join us on your platform on a weekly basis. Please subscribe. Please pass the word. It's a small business. We're trying to grow it. Want your thoughts, want your opinions. This will evolve. We want you along with it. So riding solo today for episode 43 is Kyle Blondin. I think I said that before. That's the host. That is me. And I got a lot of things to talk about. So what we're going to go with over the show is we're going to get to predominantly MLB picks throughout the tomorrow and thoughts going throughout the weekend on some good good betting action. But also look at CFL. Got a couple picks. Got a pick there. A nice parlay I think is going to pay out. And also one MLS pick for your Saturday night action. But we're going to start off with the sporting news, in my opinions. That's what you signed up for. I know it. And kicking us off is NFL news. And the NFL news that we're going to talk about today was posted by Adam Schefter, NFL Insider, just talking about the news of additional suspensions for players that were involved in gambling, and these are gambling suspensions. So some of the biggest names that out there are suspended for at least 1 year are cornerback Isaiah Rodgers and linebacker Rashad Berry, both of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the 1 year suspension is a bet directly on the NFL. And my understanding, at least to what is being reported, is that Isaiah Rodgers suspended 1 year, again, minimum, and that's not a guarantee after 1 year they're coming back, that Isaiah Rodgers actually made a prop bet on rushing yards for a Colts running back. Not the sharpest move. I get that there's been some confusion because there's also 6-game suspensions for a few guys out there, like Nicholas Petit-Frere of the Titans. Got a 6-game suspension for non-football NFL bets that were done in a NFL facility, which is a no-no. That's where the 6-game comes in. So it could have been a baseball bet, basketball bet, whatever. So that suspension is different than obviously the 1 year bet because you're betting on the NFL. But to go and bet on your team and a prop bet, like it makes zero sense that that's inexcusable. There's no confusion there. So Isaiah Rodgers, good luck on life in general. If that wasn't clear, that probably wasn't a good idea to bet on the NFL and your team and a prop bet at that. Like, you can't think of any other bet that has more influence than a prop bet on your own team. Not a sharp move. That's about as sharp as a bag of wet hair. Great job there, Isaiah Rodgers, but we won't see you for at least another season. So that's you'll start to see more and more of these suspensions creep up, and I think an emphasis on getting in front of the players during the preseason and training camps to be very, very clear of exactly what is and what is not a violation when it comes to sports gambling and the NFL. So that's the NFL story. NHL. the NHL Draft took place this Wednesday. At least the first round did. And nothing too radical did happen. Actually, for the first time, I believe ever, or maybe in a very lengthy time, there was no trades during the draft, which is rather peculiar. But no shock. Connor Bedard, the next phenom. He's the guy that's the next big name that was after Connor McDavid. And previous to that was Sidney Crosby. So the Blackhawks, no shock here, draft Connor Bedard. Going number 2 overall, which is a bit of a surprise, is Leo Carlsson, Swedish player, going to the Ducks. Now, what the surprise was is Adam Fantilli, who went number 3 to the Blue Jackets, was a heavy betting favorite to go number 2. So a lot of folks may have got rinsed by that decision by the Ducks to go to Leo Carlsson instead of Adam Fantilli. Now, I'm going to go down the list here. Will Smith for the Sharks center. But the reason I'm going to number 5, David Reinbach, is if you watch the draft, the Montreal Canadiens, who drafted David Reinbacher, had Carey Price, superstar goaltender, pretty much career's over due to injury, come up and try to announce the name, and he drew a blank. David, we're going to draft David and blank. Embarrassing. Got to see it, though. It is funny. Now, outside of the draft, some rumblings that are going on here is that the Toronto Maple Leafs, obviously if you've listened to this podcast before, that is my hometown team. That is the team that gets me going, gets me all fired up, and gets me, frankly pissed off with their failures and dumb decisions. And I'm trying to be nice here, but the thought is that William Nylander, pending free agent not this year but next year, is discussing an extension with the Leafs, but the numbers he's putting down, which may be $8 or $9 million, may be too rich for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and potentially trade is on the horizon. Yeah, this is not good. William Nylander is one of the core 4. The failures, the kid not performing the playoffs. But if you looked at the core 4, he was the guy that actually performed in a bright spot. And the Leafs are probably going to dump the player that had the most impact in the playoffs and retain the 3 that had 0 impact. The Toronto Maple Leafs so far have announced that Sheldon Keefe, head coach, is going to return. Amazing. David Comp signed he's like a 4th-line player, signed to a multi-year contract. I'm still waiting on a move that the Leafs are making that is going to change my mind that there's going to be any sort of cup contention going into next season. This may be a great regular season team, but nothing they've done has changed my mind in any way that this team's going anywhere at all. And in fact, outside of hockey betting purposes, I have no interest as the team looks today. It could change, to watch this team in any fashion whatsoever with any interest. Because they could go 82-0. It means fuck all. It means shit until they do something in the playoffs worth significance. So I have no idea what their agenda is. I have no idea what the hell they're doing, but they're doing nothing. They're sitting on their hands like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's go back and let's see what we can, the same guys that fail year over year, let's see if they can change. It's not changing. So we're going to see what happens to the Leafs, but that's the quick story with this damn team. Now, the Blackhawks, I said, drafted Connor Bedard in an effort to not saddle him with a garbage group, which pretty much was the Blackhawks roster at year's end as they tanked to get Connor Bedard. They picked up Corey Perry in a trade with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's a veteran. Most likely, though, they'll probably sign him to a couple $1 million for 1, maybe 2 years. But, they're clearly looking for some veteran talent. They had already picked up a few days prior Taylor Hall from the Boston Bruins in trade, and also picked up Nick Foligno in that same trade and signed him to a 1 year, 4-year contract, 1 year, $4 million contract. And it looks like they're trying to beef up their veteran status, take these guys on short-term contracts, build through the draft, sign free agents, and then, when Connor Bedard's ready to go to that McDavid stage, they're going to stack up and go on a cup run. So, Blackhawk fans, lucky you. Also, big trade, Winnipeg Jets we're told by Pierre-Luc Dubois, star center, that he wanted out. And, they don't say they want to. They just say, I'm not going to sign here. So, dude, I don't care what you offer. I'm not coming back to Winnipeg. So, Winnipeg was left with, okay, do I trade him now? Not to get anything for him next season if he walks as a free agent. So, the LA Kings traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois, signed him to an 8-year contract, max deal. And the Winnipeg Jets pick up 3 NHLers, Alex Iafallo, Gabriel Villard, Erasmus Kupuri, and a second-round pick. Solid return, but the trend that is happening, and sorry Winnipeg fans and Calgary fans, these guys have learned a trick to come out and say they're not signing, put the fear in you that you're not going to get anything for return, forcing your hand. So it's just a trend. As soon as Tkachuk did it last year and said, I'm not coming back, and that forced Calgary's hand to dump him. Player after player has now come out. Look at the Calgary Flames. Noel Hanifin is going to be traded soon, defenseman for the Flames. Said the same thing. I'm not signing an extension. Tyler Toffoli, not signing an extension. He is dumped in New Jersey. It's all hell breaking loose in these smaller markets. And kudos to the players as they increase their control and put themselves in the driver's seat. Honestly, I'm a pro player guy, so good for them. And let the teams manage the way they got to manage. And that's just the way it's got to be. The Calgary Flames, to be honest, they're probably an outdated organization. They look like it's just like a house. If you walk by, it looks like it hasn't been renovated in years. That's what the Calgary Flames look like. They're still living in 1989, the last year that they won the Stanley Cup. So, you know what? They're late to the party. I'm making sure that people want to play there. Too bad for them. All right. And also, that's the NHL story. NBA story. Reports out of Houston are that the Toronto Raptors' former NBA championship winner, Fred VanVleet, who decided he wanted to test free agency, it may be signing a deal with the Rockets. Now, okay, this is goddamn ridiculous, but good on him. All right. $80 million over 2 years. You're gonna sign Fred VanVleet for $40 million a year because you have the cap room. That is outrageous. That is redonkulous. That is ridiculous. He's not a $40 million player. He may play 50 to 60 games for a team like the Rockets, who will need all hands on deck. That's outrageous, but good for you, buddy. Good for you. The numbers are just outstanding. Like, look at James Harden. James Harden wants out of Philadelphia now. So he opted into his $35 million, $35.6 million. Sorry, 0.6 is 600,000 American dollars. Can't miss out on that. He opted in to help Philadelphia facilitate a trade. And it looks like maybe it's the Knicks potentially, and or the Houston Rockets. Like, what does this guy want? Wanted out of OKC, goes to Houston. Wants out of Houston, goes to Brooklyn. Wants out of like, what's going on with him? Like he goes to Philly. Like, what is going on? And now he wants out. So I was right. I'm telling you, I was in arguments on this, and James Harden is a star player, no question about it. He's not a superstar. He's not. He may have won an MVP. He is not a superstar. He is not a guy that's going to carry your franchise. And the headache of him wanting to bounce from team to team, you know what? Let him go. Philadelphia does need a return. They do need to stock up. They do need to make a run with Joel Embiid as he's healthy, because that could turn at any point. And time for a shakeup, Philadelphia. But James Harden, he won out. All right. So now we move on to Major League Baseball. Now, just a heads up to everybody, July 11th is the MLB All-Star Game. So that's probably the out of the whole year, that's the dead period for sports. So it kind of sucks. So be prepared for that. Maybe download a few movies or something, and maybe that's date night, because that's going to suck. I'll be very honest. But big MLB news, Domingo Harmon of the New York Yankees pitched the 24th perfect game against the Oakland A's. Great performance. I mean, no hitters have been coming out of our ass, over the years. Not really raising the flag to me as like an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment. It's not as big deal as it once was. But the perfect game, to know that out of the history of Major League Baseball that you're number 24 and everything has to go right. And the team, it is a team accomplishment. You can't have an error. You can't have a walk. Everything's got to go your way. And, he had a couple innings where the Yankees were really beating the piss out of the A's and had to even go to the bullpen to keep his arm loose. But he went all the way, dominated, perfect game. Congratulations. It was actually fun to watch. That's the magic about baseball right there, is when you have those moments like a perfect game and you tune in because, you're on Twitter and you hear he's got a perfect game going through 6 or 7. And then it makes you want to jump to that game and watch and experience it, which I did. Great to see. Going into tomorrow's action for picks in the MLB, we're going to start off the Cleveland Guardians heading to Chicago to take on the Cubs. Now, what I want to point out, this, is today's game. Cleveland was in Kansas City. They did lose. Keep that in mind. They did lose 3-2 in extra innings to the Kansas City Royals. But you got to respect, and I don't know if everybody out there knows Jose Ramirez. You baseball fans will. But for those on the sidelines, you got to recognize Jose Ramirez, great baseball player, great hitter, great all-around player. He had a play in this game where you just got to stand up and say kudos, man. You can be in your basement at all. It doesn't matter. Tip your hat. 2-2, extra innings, and Cleveland, Ramirez was the runner to start the inning. He wound up on third base with 2 outs. Aroldis Chapman, for you guys that know, he's a left-handed fireballer for the Royals, comes in, and he's got, Andreas Jimenez, like 2 strikes, and left-handed, lefty on lefty. Jimenez has no business. He's not going to do anything. So what happens is Ramirez decides to steal home. Not just steal home, but have the perfect slide to make sure he was safe. Originally called out. And what's even more amazing is that it had to go to replay to show it wasn't just a slide. It was the skill of the slide. It was the plan. It was everything with that play that showed his greatness. Go back and watch it. I'd be pissed off and be yelling at the guys after, because they pissed away that 3-2 lead and wound up losing in the bottom half of the inning. But shows you that this guy's a winner. And watch out for him. But going into that game tomorrow, it's an afternoon game, 2:20, Cleveland and Wrigley. I like, Cleveland's plus 132. The Cubs have lost 4 straight. They lost that second game in London and got swept by the Phillies at home. And Cleveland is up and down, but plus 132, there's value there. So take Cleveland. And I'm not really looking too much of that series throughout the rest of the weekend. That 132 money line just stood out to me. Here's a beauty. Here's a series to follow all weekend, because I think it's going to be a wild series. Cincinnati Reds have cooled down a little bit. San Diego visits Cincinnati, by the way. The Cincinnati Reds have cooled down a little bit. They traveled to Baltimore after a couple losses against the Braves at home in a big series where there's tons of runs scored. But they got manhandled. Not manhandled, but brought down to earth in Baltimore. The Cincinnati Reds can put up runs, no question about it. But the majority of their starting pitching is absolute shit. It's a bag of dog shit. I'm telling you right now, the Cincinnati Reds are going to be a heart attack for you bettors out there. If you're putting money, you rode that streak. That was 11 games streak. Great. You ride that streak. But just to let you know, they are going to be up and down. Their pitching is absolute trash. Right now, they got Ashcroft on the mound. He's got a 7.17 ERA coming into this game. Over-under's 11, which looks a lot. But in that stadium they play in, it's absolutely going to be a launching pad. So take that over 11. Look for, the Padres to start laying it up, but the Reds also laying it up. Not to say that the Reds can't take a few wins in this series. It just might be 9-7. It might be 8-6. But anyway, it's going to be wild. And just a tip for you Cincinnati Reds bettors out there. All right, I'm going to find you. Where are you? Watch out anytime that the Reds have... Looking for him. Yeah. The Cincinnati Reds, if you see Luke Weaver on the mound at any point, you tell your friends to get your ass on the over because he is going to get lit up. The Reds may win. They did win his last outing in Baltimore. But his earned runs, let's look at his stat line. Luke Weaver. 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 So hits. Gives up 6 against Baltimore. 4 innings of work. 4 and a third inning of work. 6 hits against Baltimore. Gives up 4 earned runs. 7 hits against Atlanta. 5 earned runs and 3 in a third inning. Against Houston, June 18th. 5 innings of work. 10 hits. 5 earned runs. Kansas City is a piece of shit too. 5 hits, 3 earned runs, which it may be a decent outing for him actually. Kansas City's up to his speed. Dodgers, 6 hits, 7 earned runs. It's Luke Weaver on the mound. You get that over in there ASAP. Okay, just pathetic pitching from the Cincinnati Reds, but their offense is spectacular. So watch out. Take the over in this series. Watch it the whole weekend. Live betting. If the first couple innings don't see any runs scored and that over-under comes down, ride it. All right. So Minnesota, Baltimore. I like, if I see Baltimore to minus 108 against Minnesota, who just came off of a sweep in Atlanta. Atlanta is the best team, in my opinion, best lineup in baseball. However, Baltimore minus 108 to a team. Minnesota strikes out a lot. They can't score runs on a consistent basis, and they're on the road. I'll take Baltimore. Not a series again I'd be watching the whole weekend, but for Friday, good enough. Here's one for a weekend if you want. Also another weekend of runs. Houston takes on Texas over 9.5 plus 104. Ride that baby. Come on. Get on top of that and just go. Texas at home, they lost 2 of 3. They split. I think it was a 4-game series against the Tigers. They didn't look good, but apparently the Tigers, for some reason, the Tigers are garbage. They play well in Texas, but there was a lot of runs scored, and I don't see it changing here. This ballpark is a launching pad. The Rangers score a lot of runs. Houston has been scoring a lot of runs of late as well. So I like this over 9.5 and like the whole weekend to really keep an eye on the over-under. Detroit, Colorado. These are 2 sloppy teams. These are 2 teams like you can pay me to go watch. Maybe I go to Denver, go to Colorado, enjoy the nice thin air, and maybe had a few Coors Lights. But as far as baseball action, the Dodgers are spanking the Rockies tonight. I haven't turned my head, but it was 11-3 last time I checked. But Colorado plus 104 against a Detroit team that's not played well in Texas, but I think on the road, I like the value there for Colorado. Again, not a series I'm going to watch all week, but watch how sloppy these games are. Here's a team that you may know, the New York Yankees. Here's an interesting thing here. They're starting to wake up. I know it's against Oakland, but double-digit runs scored last 2 games. It looks like Giancarlo Stanton doesn't strike out tonight. He didn't strike out today, which is odd. Usually there's 2 or 3 strikeouts for him. I think he's going to go on a run. I think he's going to jack a few homers this weekend. Josh Donaldson hit a homer today. He might be picking it up. So just watch out. This Yankee lineup might be waking up. They got the pitching. I don't see St. Louis putting up much of a fight. So the Yankees at -110 tomorrow, I take them. And watch that series, not for the Yankees per se, even though I do like them all year, all series, but watch the runs being scored, even team totals for the Yankees. The Yankees, I think, are going to start, again, lighting up the scoreboard. And I'll come back to that Yankees team in a second with a parlay with another game later on. Arizona, LA Angels. Arizona is a team to be reckoned with. This team has got it's well over 500. They put up runs. They can put the bat to the ball. I like them to score over 9.5 runs. Not them, but the game to go over 9.5 runs. You have Ohtani on the other side. I might jack a few dingers here. Jack a few home runs. I don't know if LA is going to win these games because they tend to choke, losing like 9-7 today. The pitching's not exactly where a playoff contender would like to be. But this game, over 9.5. Again, watch this series, but also watch for the value on Arizona. -106, take Arizona. Now, Tampa Bay takes on Seattle. Seattle's been struggling. However, Tampa Bay is one of the best teams of baseball. Long road trip here. I'm going to look at parlaying the Tampa Bay game here. I'm going to alternative total down to 6.5 here on the Friday game. And also parlay it with an alternative total on, you guessed it, that New York Yankee St. Louis Cardinal game at 7.5. And that'll get you $100 is going to pay you $121. I like runs scored. The Tampa Bay Seattle one's a little iffy. But if you put it down to 6.5, I think you're fine. All right, that's the Major League Baseball story, at least my story. So write it down. CFL, for you CFL fans that are watching CFL until NFL comes, and it's not that far off. CFL parlay for you, and it's a pretty good one. Tomorrow night, Edmonton travels to Ottawa. Edmonton's it's an iffy team at best. Ottawa, not too much better. But if you take the total and put it down, alternative total that is, to 36.5 over, and lock it in with Winnipeg to beat Montreal on Saturday night, money line, your $100 is going to pay you $98 with that parlay. Winnipeg, BC, and Saskatchewan are the best teams in the CFL. So just watch out for that. Those are the 3 best teams to kind of measure against. Winnipeg got dismantled at home, uncharacteristic against BC. I expect them to dominate the Montreal Alouettes on Saturday. And I'll throw a bonus game in there for you. MLS action, Major League Soccer. Now, the Toronto FC, our hometown team here, has fired Bob Bradley, their head coach. Not surprisingly, TFC's paid a lot of money for Insigne and Bernardeschi. These are Italian strikers that are supposed to put the ball in the net. The TFC looks lethargic. They can't score. And it was a matter of time before his ass was out. And now it's out. So they're hosting Real Salt Lake, who likes to put up a few goals. So there's value here. I think over 2.5 at -128. Take the over. And that's our game here. That's our MLS pick of the week. Now, I want you kids to think about a pondering thought as you leave it. And our boy Bradley, I'm going to think of a nickname for you. So Mazda, Bradley, whatever. We'll come to consensus. If you listen to this, throw out a few nicknames for you. And, he jokingly sent me a cash out offer for the Houston Astro game tonight, which they were up 9-0 at the time. I think it was the top of the 8th inning. And the cash out was basically pennies off the original amount that, if he cashes out, he's off 30 cents or whatever it was. Now, the idea is, when is the right time to cash out? what risk do you for a few dollars? If it's at $2, what's the right window? Is it $10? Is it $5? You know what? There's a reason why they use the word upset, because if you leave the window open, there is a chance that you may lose. But so I want you to ponder that and drop us a line on Twitter, overrated EXPER2, and or go to the Facebook page and give us your public comments on when is the right time to cash out when you feel you're in a lock situation, but you just don't want to take a chance to go into that, let's say, bottom of the ninth inning and get burned by an 11-run, 12-run bottom of the ninth, only to have lost, pennies if you would have cashed out earlier. So ponder that. When is a lock that you're getting enough money back where you're probably going to win, but you just don't want to risk any miracle happening to lose that bet? Because think about how you feel if you sat there and looked at a cash out of, let's say, your profit of $100 and $98.75 is staring at you in the face, and you said, "Nah, I'll let it go," and you you go back to the game and you've pissed away that $98 because your team choked. So when's the right time to pull out? I guess that's a lot of things you got to think about in life. When's the right time to pull out? Those are life-changing decisions. Anywho, that is the story for the Overrated Experience in episode 43. Hope you listen, subscribe, follow us on a weekly basis. For you that has listened to this, the pleasure's all been yours. It's time. Over and out. Bye-bye.